You are listening to a recording by Herbert Simpson as part of Plaza, an exhibition at Shipton Street Gallery, 2011. I started at a corner of the atrium and headed to a branch of All Saints of Spitalfields. I went into the ladies' wear store. A shop assistant directed me to the men's store. Follow the flashing lights across the atrium. I didn't go. Instead, aiming for the village, I walked past DKNY Jeans, Hugo Boss, Links of London and Dushop London. The village, ground floor, high-end labels. On the left was Burberry, Jimmy Choo, Salvatore Ferragamo, Gucci, Prada, Dior. On the right were jewellery stores, including Tiffany & Co, Toy Watch and Omega. Each store sat in a glass box on which the label's identity was represented, an example being the use of grey panelling in Dior. The plate glass windows were concertinaed, lending the impression of being alterable and flexible. The whole space felt as though it could fold in on itself. The curved forms were womb-like, promoting comfort, safety and calm. The chandeliers were columns of diamante hanging from the ceiling, sliced diagonally across the bottom. They symbolised luxury and contemporary design. The village logo was a V-shape filled with diamante. It looked like a spray of champagne. Circe's The Champagne Bar was in the centre, under the dramatic curved staircase. The bar was an ellipse with stools around it. The floor was a monochrome mosaic, fading black at the edges to white in centre, like a Missoni pattern or the floor of a classical villa. Flower arrangements consisted of white flowers, fake, with strong green stems, tied tight with raffia. These were dwarfed by their vases, which resembled giant teeth in white or silver. These were placed at strategic points, for example by windows, in corners, or on tables. I walked around to the end, where House of Fraser, one of the anchor stores, sat. I went back past Prada and Gucci, and turned right to the toilets and a waiting area. There was a casual arrangement of seats, armchairs, sofa, in dark brown faux leather. This arrangement was on a square, minimally designed rug. Beyond the seating was what appeared to be an unused water feature. It was a sculptural affair of an ellipse set in a larger ellipse made from dark slate tiles. There was no water source in evidence. To the right and left were the toilets. The atmosphere was serene and classy. We left this area and turned right onto an escalator that solely took the visitor to a DKNY men's store. The store was empty and devoid of music and character. The shop assistants greeted me. "Good morning, gentlemen." I walked through the store and out into the central atrium of the village, this time on the first floor. I walked to the end to take in the view from a plate glass window of the southeastern terrace, where various restaurants were located, such as Busaba, Wagamama and Meat and Wine Company. The feeling was of looking out from the prow of the ship. Above us was a gym box, the place where our body is a temple. Every aspect of life was catered for here. After one circuit, I ascended to the men's floor. There were no customers, though the lively visual merchandising made up for this. Trends were relayed. There were lots of morning meetings taking place. I overheard a sales assistant saying his concession was at a loss. I returned to the first floor and exited House of Fraser into the village. This floor consisted of traditional favourites such as Church's, Furler, Walford, Hackett and Palzelleri. I left the village. I touched the Diamante logo to my right that signalled the entrance. The crystals were loose and exposed shoddy workmanship. I entered back into the main body of the mall. The cavernous ceiling loomed over me as I headed straight back down the avenue that lay ahead. The roof consisted of triangular windows set in a white frame. It undulated through the avenue. Every surface appeared to be flexible and in motion, giving the space a lightness and openness. To the right and left, each store called out for attention. At the end was Marks & Spencer, another anchor store. Its green logo was highly visible from the other end. As I made my way towards this bastion of British retail, I passed various stands in the middle of the avenue. These sold makeup, massages, Sky TV, Rosetta Stone language CDs, sunglasses and watches. The occupiers of the stands appeared to be temporary. Perhaps they are introducing new labels to the British market. The stands themselves were white and sculptural, probably made from fiberglass. They looked like deconstructed angular swans coming out of the floor. Another, the Sky TV stand, appeared to be growing from the floor into a white cavern-type space, or an alien, organic form bursting upwards. A series of large open ellipses in the floor allowed one a glimpse of the ground floor. There were also more casual seating areas as seen in the village. These were placed between the product stands and the ellipses and enabled the weary shopper to rest and chill out. People were reading, looking at their phones, chatting. Some appeared to be nervously waiting for job interviews, and others had fallen asleep. The arrangement of seating felt informal and invited people to spend more time, and thus more money, in the mall. It almost felt as though one could come and read one's book as though in a public park. It was the new public park, without the worry of inclement weather. I reached Marks & Spencer, which straddled a corner and was placed on the ground and first floors. I looked downstairs through a large ellipse and could see a Marks & Spencer cafe placed out in the public mall area. This was set within two large ellipses, one for the bar service area, the other for seating. Tabletops were printed with retro floral and checkered designs and were rounded triangles in shape. A large family-sized table was placed at the entrance to the seating ellipse, encouraging communal seating or large families. A vase of white lilies sat on this. I went past Marks & Spencer and turned left onto another avenue that stretched down past the atrium on the left towards a branch of Next. I coasted down, flanked by store after store calling out their wares. Licenza, Wallace, Jack Wolfskin, Boots, T.M. Lewin, Burton, Pull & Bear, H&M, Monsoon. A stand for massages was in the centre. Masseurs dressed in white uniforms glided towards me, asking whether I needed to de-stress or treat myself with a neck and back massage. I resisted and continued past River Island. The atrium loomed up on my left. This contained numerous small boutique-style shops selling jewellery and makeup, MAC, L'Occitane, as well as a food hall which sat on the balcony and a view cinema, more of later. The atrium was a light and airy space at the centre of the mall, rising to the glass roof and crossed by numerous walkways and bridges, some accommodating bar-style dining or casual seating areas. There were multiple light riggings hanging over the space, indicating this was a space used for events such as concerts, fashion shows and such like. On this visit, a large stand advertising internet crime loomed over curious passerbys on the ground floor. This was a black structure with 3 legs and a central stage on which television presenter Connie Huck worked her magic. There were computer screens around the stage, on which black-clad people demonstrated something technical. A large white sphere hung within the black legs, with viral crime statistics projected on its surface. This immediately set the tone of paranoia rife in the minds of the public and reinforced the safety provided by the haven of the mall. To the right of this was the balcony and view cinema. This followed the basic form of the mall, overlaid with wooden slatting that provided a 3-dimensional form. It resembled a fungus growing over the mall structure, as well as allowing expression for the architects. Within the balcony, on floors 1 and 2, were a gabble of restaurants: Pizza Express, Byron, Chip and Fish, Square Pie, and on the 3rd floor was the 12-screen cinema. The views over the atrium were vertiginous, providing a bird's-eye view, panopticon-like, of the underlying scene, as well as swathes of dust on the white girders that support the roof, for I was very high up. This dust foreshadowed the fate of this gleaming monolith, which had already succumbed to the passing of time with scuffs on the white, smooth fiberglass surfaces. The cinema at this time of day was empty, save for a few amorous couples seeking privacy from the throngs below. The space was typical for an entrance to a view cinema. Dark colours and black tiling contrasted with the lighter shades of the main body of the mall. From here I could survey the atrium properly. I saw a branch of Hollister, aspiring to be a frat house or colonial plantation building with incongruous architectural features, such as a pillared colonnade and shuttered windows poking out into the slickness of the mall, I would definitely be going there. Next to that was a Timberland shop, an eye-popping facade of modernist trees that stretch across the front screaming concept and trendy. This showed the possibility for stores to be experimental within a mall due to the lack of planning constraints and the effect of the weather. This was seen on the facade of the Zara store, which sat on a corner at the other end of the atrium. This appeared to be a spaceship that landed unsuspectingly in the Westfield. The entrance and windows were made from what appeared to be a dark brown metal and formed tunnels into the store. The planes of the facade were broken and played with, escaping from the typical glass box mode seen elsewhere. I sought an exit from the third floor. This was not openly provided. Escape was harder than ascent. A single escalator, that tool of ease of movement and convenience, sat within a glass box. I boarded this machine and glided downwards. I stepped off the escalator onto the second floor next to a Pizza Express. That mainstay of reliable and unthreatening eating experiences. The facade of the restaurant broke out into the balcony area with circular booths. I went further down back to the first floor. Hollister was aimed for with trepidation and excitement. The contrast of the openness of the mall to the dark and domestic interior of this store was surprising. An intimate atmosphere was aimed for and was slightly overwhelming. Aspiring models greeted us wearing flip-flops and polo shirts. A screen played films of surfing dudes and a scent, which was sold, was pumped into the air. Very much in the Abercrombie and Fitch mode. Palm leaves brushed against me and Hawaiian prints jostled for attention on the rails. A hasty exit was made. From here, I headed further down the main avenue towards Next to complete my circuit of the main mall. From Next, I turned a left onto the final avenue, which ended with a Foyle's bookshop and Debenhams. I took an escalator down to the ground floor in order to make it back to the lower level of the atrium. I passed Debenhams, Carphone Warehouse, Virgin Media. From here, there were a selection of seemingly random stores, such as the Scoin shop, which sold gold, Maliko, the eyebrow threading shop, and Kathmandu. I continued down toward the beginning of my journey, the ladies' branch of All Saints, on the corner of the atrium.